Cool. So here I am with the biggest 21-year-old in the fucking world. How are we doing, my friend? How are you getting on?
I'm doing good. How
Man,
are
this is
you?
this is all gets me every time you come in conversation. I'm thinking, okay, he's a middleweight, yeah. But where are these genetics coming from? Like, what is this? Most like Drago in itself is just a quality sort of nickname anyway. Like, so talk to me. So, what's your background?
Thank
Like,
you.
have you always been like quite athletic? Is it something you've always been doing anyway? Was just MMA been something you came across quite late? What's been your sort of journey with sports and stuff?
I started off playing football, so I used to play football a lot when I was young. I was in a football academy. I used to play for Millwall Football Club in the youth system, and then I sort of faded out of football around 14. And then, you go to school, you start getting into fights in school. You're around that 14, 15, 16-year-old age where you start trying to get a bit angry and stuff. A bit of testosterone comes out, I guess, like
In Millwall as well.
that
I mean, I
age
didn't want to
range, the
say anything,
teenage
but
years. So bullying can be a bit hard at those times, so I got bullied a little bit in school, and I just decided, right, I need to learn how to defend myself. And I was a very small kid when I was in school. I was tiny. I was always the smallest kid in the school, so I had a growth spurt when I was around 16 when I started MMA as well. So I just started getting bigger, and then it's just all culminated into what it is now.
like Captain America almost, like just overnight, just sort of just get fucking just come
It
out
is
all
a
out.
bit like yeah.
But
The
yeah,
frog juice was good.
this is what we want as well. And the thing is, when you said about Millwall, I was thinking, okay, he's one of these hooligans as well. Like, yeah, he trains MMA so he can get in better fights into his West Ham referees.
I'm a West Ham fan as well, and I used to play for Millwall.
Oh, you fucking snake! What's going on with that then?
Mate, it was what it was. They were the team that would take me at the time,
got to do what you got to do. Look out for Moreno. So
I
with
was a
your
footballer back then.
like training and stuff now, then like I don't know how regimented
Yeah,
were
I
you
mean,
then? So like in the sense of obviously you started doing football quite a serious level quite young, so you used to being quite regimented, quite like I don't know, strict with what you're doing. Like how have you sort of kept with that throughout? Obviously going through school and never sort of distractions like kids like that do. How have you found keeping that level of discipline?
my parents, they instill that. They set the rules. So my parents always tried to instill that kind of mentality in me. So that's the reason why.
So are they quite athletic themselves? Are they competed, or is this something they've just felt
My
you've got a place for?
my mum was a marathon runner. She ran a lot of marathons, and my dad, she's got a lot of mental power. My dad was naturally pushed a lot when he was young by his own father. He used to play a lot of cricket, and he used to play a lot of athletics and all the athletic track events and stuff. So he used to do a lot of that. But yeah, they're both people that appreciate physical activity, I guess.
I mean, with that in itself, then, because again, they probably see it from a sporting perspective. Where do you see MMA? Do you see it from a fighting kind of thing, or is it more of a sport? How do you see your? I don't know. How do you see
MMA is
MMA
not
for
a
you?
sport.
Okay.
MMA is definitely not a sport. I think they call it a sport. A sport's tennis. That's a sport. MMA is just a fucking war game. MMA is just violence. It's just. I mean, it's a sport in the sense that you can't bite. It's a sport in the sense that you can't. There are rules. It's not like UFC 1, which was just next level. But that is actually, what a fight is. It's just we were watching people who had no technique back then. But I'll be very interested to see fights in MMA with soccer kicks and headbutts. I think all that stuff should be legal, personally. 6 to 12, 12 to 6 elbows, I think that should be legal. I want to see a rule set as unlimited. Of course, you can't bite, go for the dick or anything like that. But I want to see a rule set which is like as maximum what you can do as possible to represent the true fight,
I mean, with that being said, then this is where you get these sort of conversations. At what point is it not a fight? Because when you start giving any kind of rules, but then it also gets a bit too like, okay, we can't train kicking your training partners in the cock because I don't really appreciate that too much.
Yeah,
Like,
you can't practice that, probably. Yeah.
Imagine that in
Yeah.
training, like, what? I see some body condition. Okay, a couple of like liver shots. Okay, whatever. All right, spread your legs. Like what? You take off your groin guard, like sort of tense up.
Be the worst training partner. That guy who just does heel hooks with you, suplexes and soccer kicks. That's what we want to work on today.
Oh, imagine that. Imagine drilling that. Fucking hell. But there is something to
Yeah,
be
he'd have a
said, though,
bad
for...
next morning.
This is something to be said, though, for like, okay, if it's a fight versus being a sport, then it's playing the rules and this, that, and the other. So would you prefer, that being said, one continuous round, or would you like having separate rounds?
Well, the reason why they have the round, isn't it? And the round break is for advertisements, and they want the ring card girl going around. It's the way the sport was built up to the business of it. So that's the business side. And we've got to always remember this is a business, and because it's a business, they can operate like a business. But I think as an athlete, the continuous round would obviously be more realistic to what a fight is. The fight wouldn't get paused a minute in, would it? So we're talking about the principle of the first UFC was about who's the best fighter, and the way to make it fair is to make it fair. And imagine Nick and Nate Diaz if they had like a continuous round to just build their momentum.
Just non-stop, like triathlete level, like cardio and stuff. And again, it comes down
Like I can
stylistically as
understand the
well.
business.
Like now this is even more interesting because now you're saying it from a business point of view. So if you've gone in this initially on sort of primal kind of, I love to fight, this is a fight, this is a war, this isn't sport. But now you're seeing it from a perspective of being a business. So what do you see
That's
yourself
what makes
as
it the
in
sport. The business is
these
what made
fights
it the
then?
sport.
Do you see yourself as like a product you're trying to like get the most value from? Do you see yourself as, okay, I'm here to fight? How do you view your career in this point, in a sense?
Well, mine is all based on passion. I just enjoy training, learning martial art. I like the lifestyle, as it's my kind of lifestyle. It's just, regardless of what I do in the sport, it's just what I want to do anyway. Do you know what I mean? So my mentality is to just train martial arts every day and just see what happens with my life. That's really it. I mean, wherever I end up, but I'm very confident in my ability.
I mean, with that with that being said as well, I see a lot on your Instagram. You're doing a lot of like strict wrestling in itself. Like, how
Hmm.
do you find doing individual disciplines versus MMA as a whole? Do you like to keep it
That's the
separate
way
in its
to
own
do it.
right?
That's
How
the
you
that's
prefer
the
doing it?
secret. You don't do MMA. That's a terrible idea. That's a fucking terrible, flawed idea. You don't do MMA. MMA, like I see a lot of guys doing jiu-jitsu and MMA gyms, and they do boxing and MMA gyms. Like, bro, you need to go to a boxing club. You're not throwing those punches correct at all. That guy who's an MMA fighter, I'm not saying he's terrible. There's just something called levels. And you realize this when you go to the boxing club and then you see people who box twice a day. And then you realize, I see, there's a different level to this. My mindset of MMA boxing is a completely different mindset to people who just fucking box every day. And that's the same for jiu-jitsu, taekwondo, rest, any specialized martial art has people who specialize in that martial art and just train it all day. And they're the people that you need to get the knowledge from, and then you bunch it all together. That's what I do.
But with that being
That's the
said,
secret.
then, so with the way you've managed to get your benefits from then, obviously get to where you are now, surely with the conflicting kind of, I don't know, rules, for example, take wrestling, like the sort of ways you'd roll to your back to try and get the pins, you try and do this, that, and the other. Like in MMA, there aren't certain things you'd want to do. And these kind of concepts like boxing as well, like the sort of way you turn your knee in too much, you get leg kicked to shit. Those sort of things. Do you not find that MMA is more of a, okay, this works, but you have to do it in a certain way to make it work in MMA? How do you find that kind of, I don't know, putting it together, that kind of side of stuff?
Good question. Good question. Like 100%. Like if I do a certain role in boxing, I'll get kneed in the head and I'll get knocked out. If I do a certain, like the leg kick is that you look at Nate Diaz getting his leg chewed up
Mm.
against various fighters. That's because he has too much of a boxing style. Yeah, I completely agree with you. And that's where you, as the mixed martial artist, your job is to learn these individual martial arts to the maximum level, and then it's up to you through that efficiency that you've now obtained from doing that so much training, that specific martial art, to now be the one who decides how to blend it. How do you, that's the artist, how do you then blend all these different martial arts into how you want them to all look together? Because that's what mixed martial arts is. It's all these martial arts blended together with your style and that's what you decided it to be. So yeah, for example, with Nate Diaz, his legs too turned in. It's like that's way too. I think but then again, he's not a kicker. I throw more kicks, you know.
But
So
with
it's like he's
again,
heavily dependent on boxing. So he tries. That's his style. He wants to box you, so he has a boxing stance.
now this is where it gets even more kind of, I don't know. So you get these specific kind of styles. So we've gone with boxing for sort of stance, conflicts, or ways to do certain things and sort of damage from that. take jiu-jitsu, for example, ground and pound, wall wrestling, very specific MMA things. Like, how do you start training for that then? Do you leave that purely for MMA, or is
Well,
that something you draw isolated? How would you make up that kind of grey area in between?
I mix it up. I do MMA. I do MMA sparring. I do MMA training in the sense of do ground and pound on it. I have a dummy in my flat, and I do ground and pound on that, which is something that a lot of people don't really do. Practice a lot of ground and pound. I spar all the time. I've always got bodies that I can bring in and just spar. Of course, you got to be careful. I got a cut recently, which I had to heal. So for 12 days, I wasn't really sparring. I was just working on just techniques and stuff. But even still, I don't want to spar too much because I don't want to get any injuries. Like I got an injury in a fight for February in Dubai, and I missed that because I got an injury. I was just overtraining, and I don't want that sort of shit to happen. So I'm just here regulating, making sure I'm fit. My heart rate's very low. Working on sharpening the skills. I do MMA. I do then specific people come over who are boxers, who are wrestlers, who are jiu-jitsu guys, and then I'm just working with them. Then I visit places as well. That's how I'm working it.
So with that then, you say you spar quite a lot. What's the usual kind of mindset with your sparring then? Is each sort of session tailored around a certain goal? Is it like, okay, I'm going to try and land certain takedowns? Is it, okay, I'm going to go certain percentages? Is it got things you want to do? How do you do your sparring as such?
So I would wrestle a guy who has got really good jiu-jitsu, less good stand-up and all right wrestling, and I would just basically stop their takedowns the whole round and keep it standing and beat them on the feet. Then I'd spar someone who's more of an all-rounder. I'd spar loads of different styles, loads of different bodies, and I'm not really going for anything. I'm just being creative and I'm just trying shit. And I'm just trying to, and if, for example, there, as I said before, he's a good grappler, I'll work on stopping the takedown, keeping it standing up. So naturally I'll just practice things like that. But for this guy that I'm fighting, it's not really, I don't really feel like that. I feel like I'm better everywhere. So I feel like all this is about is just staying tuned and ready and just keeping sharp and just going into the fight healthy and just, doing the job.
Now, when you have that kind of confidence in your ability, as you should do anyway, but that kind of, okay, I'm confident I'm better than my opponent. And obviously, you're going to say stuff like that anyway, just purely because it's, fight talk. You've got to always, you're not going to say, oh, no, I feel a bit shit. He's not going to beat me. No one's going to say that. But
Obviously,
like, but with this whole kind of genuine confidence, okay, I am a better skill set than he's got. How do you then keep that level of drive and focus when you can easily get complacent? That, okay, oh, I could take it a
because
bit
he's not
easier,
the
but
objective.
okay, that's interesting. What do you mean by
He's
that?
just the fight that he's just the door.
Now that's
It's
interesting
like a,
because
it's like a video game when you go through the characters before you get to the big boss at the end. He's not the big boss that I'm worrying about. I've worried about the big boss. I've sparred the big bosses. I've sparred Hamza Shamaev, Jimmy Manuwa, fucking good. I've good stuff. I could go all day. Fucking, I've sparred monsters. Yuri Pacheska. Fucking, I can go. I know what the bosses are. I've got experience sparring high level opposition. So he's someone I train every day, not for him. I train for the future. I train for the fights in the future where I know I'm going to have to be on my A game, and I've got to be on my A game every fight. This guy can beat me. If he clips me, he's going to knock me out. I can't, trust me, I'm going to be on it in the fight, and I'm going to be ready, and I'm going to be making sure that I'm going to do everything necessary to win. But I'm going to win this fight. This is not a question. This is not in my mind, this is not something I'm, going back and forth with. This is just something that's a formality. And then after this is done, it's just carrying on training and doing what I do anyway. I do this not for training for him. I'm not training for him. There's no motivation to fight him. It's just motivation to get better every day for the future.
I love that analogy so much. It was like a Tekken game kind of thing. Okay, I'm going to beat him, and that's the kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, with that whole mindset, it's very much like does it Chael Sonnen's line was it's camps are for kids on summer vacation, but I'm a grown ass man. I fight all the time. I train all the time. All this kind of stuff.
That's the thing. That's what I realized. I don't have a camp. I don't have a camp. Well, there's no such thing as a camp. I don't have one. It's just every day's. I just feel like I was in a continuous flow of training. I don't stop. There's no camp. This is just what I do. It's just, all right, there's a date. Good. Get a
What's
bit
your
fitter, do a bit more running, a bit
what's
more
your,
sparring.
what's your diet like? And you're sort of walking around weight because again, like 21, you're still kind of growing. You're still you don't want to cut crazy amounts. So what do you walk around at versus what you cut at?
It fluctuates. I mean, I've been 97, I've been 90, 93.
Sorry, I just cut out there. So I heard 97 and the sound cut out.
I said I've been 97. You know, I fluctuate. I said I fluctuate, and right now I'm about 92.
Okay, that's not as bad as I was sort of expecting there. Because when it comes to middleweight, because I had in my head you were a welterweight for a minute. I was thinking, okay, fucking hell, that's going to be hard work. But no, that's a lot more achievable. That's fine. Fuck me.
No fucking way am I going to welterweight, bro. No way.
It's gonna be a long, long camp that would be.
Middleweight is where mate. Last time middleweight was horrible. Thing is, not 93. But this is the thing. Like, I've got 7% body fat.
Now,
All of a sudden, I'm a different kind of 93.
mm,
There's 93 kilos when, okay, so I get guys who go to me, oh man, you should be making welterweight. Meanwhile, I'm looking at them, they're 93 kilos, they're 5'11", I'm 6'3", and they're just fat. And I'm just thinking to myself, well, no, you need to lose the fat first, get yourself to a lean body weight, and then you make weight. And then you won't be telling me that I need to make welterweight. Yeah.
I mean, with that being said, then how do you find that transition down then? Because being lean, being fucking massive, and then sparring with big boys all the time. How much of a deficit are you normally walking around at then? Are you like pretty much starving yourself? Are you pretty trim anyway? Just swallowing water? How do you get down that?
I have a nutritionist called Kate Shiliad, and she helps me with
Shout out.
all my nutrition. And I basically just eat these meals which have from like very plain food, chicken, and they're wholesome food. It's good food, and basically I cut out all the food that you eat, which would just naturally just make you gain a bit of size, and the GMO, I guess, that we have in products. I don't eat that kind of stuff anymore, and then I lose about a few kilos, 4 or 5 kilos, just naturally, just dieting about 3 weeks out, and that gets me to like 88, 88, 87, around that kind of range. And then from there, I drink a lot of water fight week, piss out with salt, and then I'm just saunering it and hot bathing it, maybe if there's no sauna, and then I just make weight.
When you're doing the sauna and the hot bath side of the sort of post water load and you got your weight cut, how would you like to do that process? Is it more of a lot of visualizing? Is it just okay, close your eyes, get it done, and then it's over with? Do you think a lot when you're in that process? How do you deal with that?
Just in a bad mood, angry, violent, temper. Anything anyone does, you'll snap at. You're very angry in that stage, and it's just about getting through it, and just making weight. But hopefully it's going to be a lot easier this time, because it's the first time I've had a nutritionist help me. So I feel like this one shouldn't be as bad a cut, because I've now got a nutritionist to help me make weight.
Prior to that, then, was it just bro science, or is it like your own kind of actually working out to a degree and then just trying to tighten up with a nutritionist?
Well, the last fight I had, it was just such a bad weight cut that I decided that I just was not a good way. I was in a sauna for 45 minutes. Like, it was just not good. It's just not a good experience, So I was like, I don't want it to be like that. Like, that needs to be sharper. So I just decided, right, I need a nutritionist for this camp.
I mean, it makes sense because then that's the last sort of. I think you need to really get it right with your sort of salts and everything else, and then it's how you sort of rehydrate as well. Like,
Yeah.
what was
Well,
your rehydrate like?
I have like a refuel plan after I make weight.
Prior to that, then, what was your refuel like before you had a nutritionist? Did you have any sort of certain things you followed? Anything you've had? I don't know, like a what do you call it? Like not just his name, Dolce diet kind of thing, that kind of refuel sort of plan.
I haven't really researched into the Dolce diet at all, really. I just sort of rehydrated, just trying to put sugar and salts back into my body. Water, filling it with salt, and just shaking it and drinking that.
It just sounds so horrible. But the thing is, when you're that
It's grim. It's
dehydrated,
horrible.
it's so like refreshing though. You're like, oh my god, this is horrible. If I wasn't on the brink of death, this would
Anything
be.
tastes good when you're that dehydrated.
Now, this is like obviously you're very like focused, very clear that this is the rest of it. But when you're that hungry and this sort of dehydrated, what sort of food are you craving? What kind of thing? You think, you know what? Yeah, I'm chicken and veg and all this thing. But what am I thinking?
Oh,
Yeah.
typical 20 chicken nuggets from McDonald's with
He
the sweet
knows
and
it.
sour sauce.
That's what the conviction. The conviction. You knew exactly what you were going to say. There was no
King
like.
prawn tikka masala,
Oh,
pilau rice, and a bit of fucking naan bread. I'm thinking a bit of a sweet
Look
and
at your
sour
face.
chicken
You're
with
so
egg
happy. I
fried
love it.
rice.
Look how happy you are. As
This
well.
is the kind of stuff that I'm thinking about.
The real questions. This is where we get the exclusive. This is what people want to know. They don't care about the fights. They
It's
want
the
to know about
truth.
the food. This is what they want to know.
You have to listen to Coke can ASMRs, you know?
Oh no, don't even get me started. That kind of like just to the brink of death before you even start the proper like cut side. You're like, okay, just watching all the sort of food porn shit. Thinking, oh no, that cheesecake looks fucking good.
I don't understand how people can watch food porn when they're hungry. Like,
I don't get
they
it. It's just
watch
one of
it
those
to
things you can't
ease their
help.
hunger, but that makes no sense to me. That just makes me more hungry watching that.
It just gets me annoyed. Like I'm not like
Yeah,
happy or hungry.
it's
I'm
like
just get
going to a
angry.
strip club. It's like going to a strip club and you're just paying, but you're not getting anything.
Just
It's just
frustrated.
annoying. I don't understand why you do it.
I don't know. Some people are glutton for punishment. I don't really know. So between fights, then, because the way you described that earlier, so this person's a sort of stepping stone to your next stage in your career. That's how you're sort of facing that. So after the fight itself, because again, sort of wear and tear and general stress.
Everyone's a stepping stone, though.
Yeah.
Everyone is a stepping
No, it's just an
stone. Like
example saying this.
everyone,
This is just like this is a position. This is next person's whoever it is. You're gonna beat him. You're gonna go to the next stage.
they're the next. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but so with that being said, then what's your gap between fights normally? Do you try and have a specific kind of rest period? Do you try and get back in straight away? What's your post-fight
So
kind of?
no, there is no real. I'm ready to fight whenever sort of thing. Like I had fought May, and then I had fought July, then I fought September. No, May, July. September. I fought March, May, July, September. So I fought pretty much like 4 times in the space of 6 months. And then after that, I had a break for a bit because I had 4 fights back to back to back, and I just wanted to just work on some skills and just sort of have a break. So I missed an October card, and then in December, I was cornering Dapper Laughs for his Fame MMA. And then after that, I had a fight in February booked to go to Abu Dhabi. Then I hurt my knee. I was overtraining, hurt my knee. April, I was then booked another fight, that one coronavirus. So that fucking was smashed. And then I had an fight August 1st. And then that's been pushed back a month to September the 5th. And that's now my fight. It's 4 weeks today. Finally got a fight. But I'm down to fight immediately after this, straight away, and just go and keep this whole momentum going. But how long do I have between fights? It genuinely varies, man. It might be an injury, it might be it might be like a coronavirus, some disease that just outbreak. You never know. So hopefully it's going to be again and again and again, but you don't know. This game is very unpredictable.
There was so much in that answer I need to go through, but I mean, the question itself was more around preference. Like, okay, so you're trying to peak and everything
Preference is all
else.
the time.
So this is more a case of okay, you've got you call it a camp, but just for like sake of reference points. So you're training as normal. You're going to try and peak a bit extra for a specific event, a camp, call it what you want. But then, do you have like a deload time afterwards? Do you try and actively take? I don't know, because obviously you're saying you're focusing on skill work. Are you tailoring things down? Are you going back to fight intensity? What's your training like from there onwards?
Um, well, I do the same thing really. Just train, work hard, try not to get injuries, have a hard session, listen to my body, go to the next one, but always be practicing technique. I don't really mix that up. I might go running more for a fight, but other than that, that is literally just me the whole year round, man. I don't really change from that.
When you do your running, are you quite one for visualizing? Do you just listen to music trying to zone out? What's your
No, I'm just
kind
getting
of
through a boring run. That's what I'm doing. The run's boring, and I'm getting through it. I don't enjoy it. You do get into a Zen mode, a Zen state when you get into a zone in running, but it's the whole process building into that. But I'm one to visualize sitting still, and yeah, you can visualize running and meditate and that, but I'm just more of the kind of runner who just wants to just get through that fucking run. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, chatting
Yeah,
about your mum with who's the marathon runner means you probably can't empathise. She probably likes it. I mean, I wouldn't have thought
yeah.
you do marathons if you didn't like it. With your fight days themselves, then same like visualising when you're sort of being quite stagnant. When you're there on the day, because again, you're saying about how it's a fight, it's a war. The opponent is more of a stepping stone. Where's your head on the day itself? Are you quite cool and composed? Are you trying to get yourself psyched up? What's your fight day normally looking like?
I feel like now I'm probably going to be more cool and composed than I've ever been, because I'm just so much better than I have ever been, and I'm just so much bigger and older and wiser and just better than I was a year ago. So um, I was cool, calm a year ago. I feel like I'll be cool and calm in a month. Just cool, calm, collected.
So with that being said then, so what does the day itself look like? Do you like to try and switch off? Do you like to think about the fight the whole day? Is it something you
Wake
try and
up, eat food, chill, watch something on YouTube, have like a light workout, have some more food, take off to the arena, go to the arena, check in, deal with all the bullshit, go into the changing room, chill in the changing room, sleep in the changing room, relax in the changing room, just whatever, and then just wait and just wait until you're cool to come out, and then just fight. That's really it.
and with the warm up on the day itself, do you like to really get proper sweat on? Do you like to just move around a bit? What's your because you have your workout
Warm up is
beforehand?
just a sort of just. It's not like I have like a little bit of an explosion, but nothing like more than 3 4 minutes. So just a little bit, just a little bit of skipping, just a little bit of loosening out, stretching, and opening out some joints, and just might get. I've got a machine gun. I might just have someone like machine gun my back. It's like a massage gun, and
The
that
Theragun
that
thing
just loosens me up, and then yeah, it's just like a uh, pre yoga sort of
for
MOT
release kind of
stretch.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you use it quite a lot just like your normal training anyway, like recovery, those kind of massage gun things?
yeah. I used it today. My back was fucked from all this wrestling, so I had to I had to have some help and have it machined.
I mean, that's kind of my next question with all this, because again, the amount you're training, the intensity you're training, obviously the size you are and your training partners are. I mean, wear and tear just sort of screams to mind a little bit. And like, how do you deal with your injuries and your recovery? Do you have a lot of like, I don't know how. What is your normal like recovery prehab stuff you normally do? Is it just kind of bro science it? How is it? It's quite methodical. How do you like to? I don't know. Recover properly.
Well, I'm used to pain, so pain's not really a foreigner to me. I feel like any injury that I have, I'm now smart enough to just rest it and not listen to people who um, may cause that injury to get worse. I have experience now and know when to push it and when not to push it, and that's what I feel like. I've messed my body up before by not listening to it and getting silly injuries which I don't need to get. And now I feel like I just sort of have a good balance of course, you never know when you get injured, but I have a good feeling of when I know I'm about to get injured or when my body feels sore. But in all seriousness, man, I've done a lot of training recently. I've worked very hard, and I'm just feeling very solid, So it's good.
I mean, that's it as well. It's good having that level of awareness of how you feel and how you're performing, and then keeping a good kind of balance on the pair of them to make sure, okay, yes, I'm peaking well in my training, but also taking damage and getting injuries. This kind of like, balance and act. It's good that you're staying on top of that and being, I don't know, aware and not sort of acting on it, and like sort of being
I've
aware of your
wrestled
injuries.
3 days in a row, 3 days in a row wrestling, and each day that has been the only session that I have done. I didn't fucking do any boxing heavy workout before that, right? I do some maybe light shadow boxing and I do some light shadow, but I've just decided for the last couple of weeks to just focus heavily on wrestling. And when I do the wrestling, it's that's my session of the day. That's like the session I put everything into. I don't go into that session depleted and fucking broken, and I'm not even listening to the technique because I'm tired because I've just done a huge S&C that morning. That makes no sense to me. That's just thick. My opinion is you go to that session alert, you listen to what's being told, you learn the technique, get better at the skill, you go home, you rest, you live for another day. You don't fucking destroy your body to the point where you can't move the next day.
I mean, wrestling as a whole is always sort of given that perspective of always working hard, always grinding, that kind of mentality as well, being uncomfortable. But then you've taken it more of a, I don't know,
The
longevity or
wrestling
kind of approach to it
itself
as
is
well.
is that. The wrestling itself, wrestling has got the balance between the strength, the cardio, the speed, the agility. That it's got everything. That in itself, like my heart rate is going very low because of wrestling.
I mean, as well, like wrestling. If anyone, every fighter if everyone listening to this now, any fighter who you ask what's the hardest part of training, it's always gonna be wrestling and the weight cut. But like wrestling, it's always fucking horrible. Everyone's got an excuse why they can't do it because it's fucking horrible. But when you do it, you needed to do it. It's like eating your vegetables. Like, let's see
Yeah.
those cauliflowers. I mean, you seem to have gotten away all right with it. Yeah, you. I mean, it's one of these ones. You kind of
Mine's not too bad, but I've got I've got a lot of what do you call, hardly any cartilage in my ears, so not much. But I
Hey,
can
showing
just
off there. Look at that. Oh my god.
yeah,
It's one of
naturally
those.
have no cartilage in my nose or ears, so
Oh, well, I thought that was from boxing. No, that's just like natural.
that's just the way my nose is. It
Oh,
just
you
has
built to
hardly any
last. Look at
cartilage.
that.
Never broken my nose once.
Oh, look at that. I don't think you can poke your nose at that point. But yeah.
It's very good. Think about it. It's a designed nose for boxing.
I'm going to say you're built to fight. Got not uncauliflowerable ears, if that's a word. I think that's in the dictionary. I'll make sure. And then you got your unbreakable nose as well. And now, on that absolute wonderful note, my friend, where can people find you on the old social media?
They can find me on Will Currie MMA for both Twitter and Insta.
Awesome. And when your fight is up, where can people watch it? Is it a pay-per-view event? Is it tickets on the
You'd
day?
have to check the Probellum Instagram and see. There'll be details on the poster, I'm sure. But I think it's going to be one of those where it's a closed event, so it will probably have to be watched on something. But Probellum will have it on their page.
Cool. Stay tuned, guys. Make sure you're keeping up to date with the Probellum page. And